Welcome to the Phil Steele Plus tour for November the 2nd. Up for you today, I've got 5 free selections, 4 quick hitters, and 3 more of those FCS selections. Let's do a quick recap of last week. The selections went 2-2. The quick hitters went 4-1. Keep in mind, remember last week we didn't have the FCS line, so we had to post a separate update. On that separate update, I gave you the 3 FCS plays, but we added in a quick hitter on Arkansas State, so hopefully you took advantage of that. And then, of course, the FCS plays went 3-0. The selections over the last 4 weeks, 13-5. The quick hitters over the last 3 weeks, 10-4. And the FCS selections with that nice 3-0 week now, 15-9 on the year. All right, with no further ado, let's get to that top game. And you got to love these last 4 weeks AGG Game of the Week. The last 2 weeks, they've led off here at the podcast. Both were outright upsets. Boston College plus the points over Georgia Tech. And last week, a super easy winner with Arizona State plus the points over Washington State. So let's go with another underdog here. And we take a look at the Boise State-Fresno matchup this week. All right, so let's start out with the fact that if you take a look at the last 4 weeks in this game, Boise State is playing to a 105.4 level. Fresno is just playing to a 95.9 level. That says Boise will win this game outright by nearly a touchdown. And keep in mind, they're a 3-point dog. Now, I do want to point out that if you go to, on Phil Steele Plus, when you use Phil Steele Plus, go to this menu. And when you go to the menu, click on the Schedule with Power Ratings Forecasts. And when you click there, I give you a complete analysis of what each of these are. I got a lot of best bets up there on Phil Steele Plus for you each and every week. You click here to download the lines on all the games. And here's what we show. This was at the start. Oh, you know what? I think I got the wrong. Let me take a look here. There we go. Let's try this one, see if this works, because I had it set up already. Schedule with Power Ratings Forecast. Click here. There we go. What this does is Kevin does a great job updating this each week. He puts in the times of the games. There's the scores of the games. The bold is the team that won. Here's where the games are at. So we've got all the future games up there if you want to know what station it's on for the week. And then he goes through and puts everything in green and red. Green means it won. Red means it lost. If it's in a box here and it's still in black, that means it won. You can't put green inside green. So anyway, last week, a tremendous week for the best bets. Plus minus went 3-2. The AGG went 4-0. The situational plays went 4-1. The schedule strength, the green plays, went 9-1 last week. The revenge plays, 31-9 on the year. And the last 4 weeks AGG plays, which is what this one is, went 10-2 last week. And it figures, now, the earlier last 4 weeks AGG plays were closer to the AGG because naturally those games did not have a lot of difference as far as the games. But now your last 4 weeks chops off basically half the season and really gives you a good indication. So let's get Boise State back up here. Let's get Fresno back up here. Put Fresno or Boise on the left. Do have other stuff on this game besides the AGG, which it is a best bet last 4 week AGG play. We take a look at how Boise State's done as an away dog. As an away dog, they are 1-1, 4-1, 5-1, 6-1. And this year, they're 2-1 as an away dog. And once again, when you go to the Phil Steele Plus menu, we give you complete logs for each and every game here. So you can click on the ATS logs, click on the logs here, and then let's look for Boise State this year as an away dog. They did lose to Washington. They did cover at Memphis, or they pushed against Memphis, and then Colorado State, they were a favorite. So it's only had one time this year, but their record is now 8-3 ATS as an away dog over the last 10 years. And then we take a look at how these two teams have done in Mountain West play. Let's go back, get my team page up here for Boise. Click on here on the left. In Mountain West play, Boise is plus 85 yards per game. Fresno State's minus 9 yards per game. And yet Fresno is favored. Keep in mind, this is a Fresno team that was outgained at the half last week by UNLV, 237-108. They were outgained at the half by Utah State, 256-192. A couple of fortunate wins. They were dominated by Wyoming on the road, so they're not as good as the record would indicate. Meanwhile, Boise's losses, I mean, they had a 2-point loss to UCF, a 3-point loss at Memphis, who never loses at home, and a Colorado State game. And keep in mind the box score. And once again, a shout out to collegepressbox.com. Ted Ganji lets me use all these box scores that he posts on collegepressbox.com. And I go through the play-by-play of every single game every week just to follow each one. I watch the 12 games, got my 12 TVs set up, and then I go through the play-by-play of every game just to refresh it in my head. But Boise led this thing big in the fourth quarter. It was they led by 3 touchdowns. Colorado State scores 3 touchdowns at the end to pull out the win. And that's 3 touchdowns. I think it was all like in the last minutes of the game, last 6 minutes of the game. So really, they should be a much better record. These guys should have a weaker record. The last 4 weeks, AGG is a play. And the schedule strength is also a play. And by the way, the schedule strength plays, I mentioned, went 9-1 last week. 9-1 for the schedule strength green plays last week. And if we take a look at the schedule, you can look it up yourself right here, strength of schedule. We see that Boise has taken on the number 69 schedule this year. Fresno is way down here at number 122. So we've taken on the tougher schedule, should have a better record. Fresno's taken on a lighter schedule, shouldn't have a better record. The last 4 weeks, AGG strongly on Boise. Add it all up. Your last 4 weeks, AGG game of the week, Boise State +3 over Fresno. Hopefully, we've got your third straight outright upset winner for this leadoff play here of the Phil Steele Tour. You know, a quick note for you. I'm going to go through a lot of stuff of what's available on Phil Steele Plus. You can get Phil Steele Plus right now through the rest of the year, half off. Normally $99. I'll give it to you guys if you take the tour. The price is still $99 on the website. Your price $49. You have to enter the code TOUR plus 49. There's 15 weeks left of football through the Super Bowl. That's $3.20 a week, and you get all these best bets, which I talk about. Plus, you get to have access to every single team page on every single team, FBS, FCS, NFL. This is what I use when I do my radio shows. This is what I use to handicap the games. So use the code TOUR plus 49. It'll get you Phil Steele Plus for the rest of the year for just $49. All right, let's get to our revenge game of the week. Once again, the revenge game of the week, 2-2 last week. 31-9 on the year for the revenge plays. And 2 weeks ago, I gave you a revenge play, and it was Alabama over Tennessee. Didn't look good at the half, got to be honest with you. But guess what? Alabama covered. And now Alabama's only a 3-point favorite at home against LSU. This is, if you look at the strength of schedule, I could go back and show it to you, but it would take up time. Alabama, which normally faces a weak schedule, has actually taken on the third toughest schedule in the country. LSU is number 31. Take a look at the defense. Alabama holding opponents to 102 yards per game below their season average in SEC play. And LSU is minus 54 yards per game in SEC play. So we have the much better defense. We are at home. As I pointed out 2 weeks ago, Nick Saban is 17-1 straight up playing with revenge. Now, what does that straight up record mean? They're only -3. They basically have to win the game here. 17-1 straight up, 12-6-1 against the spread when playing with revenge. Now let's take a look at Alabama as a home favorite. Alabama 4-2-1, that's 8-5-1, 13-5-1, and then you add in this year 3-2. They are 16-7-1. ATS is a home favorite. And remember, these logs here, these are what you get in the magazine right here, so you have access to that. But all this other stuff, favorite, dog, conference favorite, conference dog, ranked team, top 10, that's all available for every single team right here for the last 10 years. And then, of course, add in this year. And to add in this year, go back to the logs, which I showed you. And with the logs, you can put that, add to it. Nick Saban's only been a single-digit favorite twice since 2020. They've covered them both. And another thing that you get on Phil Steele Plus is the special teams updated weekly. You know, every year I recap them in the magazine, but we do update them weekly right here. So if you click on the special teams, we're going to see that Alabama is actually number 20 in the country on special teams. LSU is all the way down here at number 98. So not only we have the defensive edge, the home edge, we've got a massive special teams edge as well. We're playing with revenge. Add it all up, it's my revenge game of the week. Alabama -3 over LSU. All right, you guys knew this one was coming. If you followed the tour the last 4 or 5 years, you knew this one was coming. It's Air Force, it's Army, it's a Service Academy game. We're going to put Army on the left. The game is technically not an Air Force home game because it's at a neutral site. It's being played in Colorado. But, it's being played in Colorado, so we'll put Air Force on the right. Now, the first thing I want to point out, and you guys know this, is when you play option against option, the advantage of the option offense is teams do not have the players that can duplicate the option offense, so you can't really prep to face it. When you face it in game time, you're at a different level, the other team is. But Army and Air Force both have players that can duplicate the Army offense. Heck, they run the option offense. They also know all the intricacies of the option offense. Best way to stop it, best way to control it. And what happens? You get a lot of unders. So you knew this was coming. We do this every single time. So let's click on Army, Air Force. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 straight unders. It's an automatic. And I pointed out last year, I used all 3 of the Service Academy games, used them all under. I want to just point out once again, the Army-Navy game last year, the one that we lost against the spread, was actually tied 10-10 at the end of regulation. Both teams had to score a touchdown in the first overtime, and this field goal in the second overtime put the game over the total. That's the only Service Academy loss against the spread last year for this underplay. The unders have done extremely well. Air Force and Navy, 14-4-1 to the Army. Army-Navy, 16-1 to the under. And then Chris pointed out this week, and just something to mention, in the Service Academy games, the last 9 years, the underdog is 20-4. Which makes a lot of sense. And if you look at this series, once again, if you click here on the opponent, the series matchup comes up. Remember, I just showed you the under. Look at this. In the last 7 years, you've got 4 upsets and favorite loss, favorite loss, favorite loss, favorite loss, dog one, favorite loss, dog one. 7 straight wins. So 7 straight wins against the spread and 4 upsets in those 7 years. So you have a lot of upsets and a lot of underdogs. And Army's getting like 18.5 here. So under 31.5 is your official play, but keep your eye on that Army plus 18.5 as well. That one looks pretty good with the dog doing so well in the series. And remember here, if this number is green, that means the team won the game straight up. If it is red, that means they lost game straight up. You don't have to try to do the math in your head. Same thing here. You don't have to worry about looking over here to try to match up the line against the score. If the color is red, that means they did not cover. If the cover is green, that means they did cover. And just to show you over here, when we click on Army, you can see these are green, these are red. Army covered those games. And these are over-unders. And here, if the home team won, then the word is win. If the home team lost, the word is loss. If the home team covered, they're in green. If the home team did not cover, it is in red. All right, let's get to your fourth play. And this is my under the radar game. Now, I was doing the show with Stephen Hartzell and Wayne Cook on Tuesday with Learfield, a great podcast. Love doing that every week. They're fun guys to do a show with. And Stephen, we lost the Stephen Hartzell play last week. So Stephen being superstitious, I'm superstitious. We're changing the name of it to the Under the Radar game. But this one's for you, Stephen. We're going to take a look at UTSA, and they are matched up against North Texas this week. So let's go to the American Conference. We're going to put UTSA on the left, and we are going to put North Texas on the right. Now, the interesting thing here is last week's games. UTSA last week made the best bets for Scott Van Pelt, and here's why. Let's click on the box score and let's go down to it. This is the fourth quarter. UTSA leads this game right now 41-21, so they are covering the game. They drive down and have a 1st and goal at the 4-yard line. As soon as they score, they clinch the cover. Guess what? 2 15-yard penalties back-to-back on the same play. Makes it a 2nd and goal from the 33. They end up missing a 52-yard field goal with 3 minutes to go. East Carolina drives down, gets the backdoor touchdown with, let's see how much time is left here, 15 seconds left in the game. An amazing cover for East Carolina. But UTSA, I pointed this out many times. I believe we used it a couple times. UTSA opened up slow. They opened up 1-3. Now, they didn't have Frank Harris for some of those games. But I told you right here, if you read my Inside the Press Box newsletter, I said the slate is wiped clean. All their goals are still in front of them. They can still win the American Conference. They're 0-0 in conference play. Well, they beat Temple by 15, beat UAB by 21, beat Florida Atlantic by 26, and last week should have beat East Carolina by more than 3 touchdowns. But still, 4-0 straight up, outgaining their opponents by 93 yards per game. They're playing great. And something else I want to point out, and this is the advantage of the individual player stats here. Make sure you use this. We update it every week. You can go back and get individual player stats here from last year's game. You want to know how Frank Harris did against North Texas last year? How about 32 at 37, 341 yards and 4 touchdowns? That's at your fingertips right there. And by the way, look at this. Let's go back to that. Kevorian Barnes ran for 175 yards against North Texas, his best game of the year, and he's still there. He's their leading rusher with 845 yards. Oh, he's still there with 477, 4.3. So look for Barnes to have a big day. Look for Harris to have a big day. And the thing I wanted to point out with Harris this year is that Frank Harris opened up the year, wasn't 100%. He was hobbling around a little, and they sat him out for 2 games. Since he's returned, he started out the year with a 2-3 ratio. In American Conference play, he's got 5.0, 7.2, 11.3 ratio. Once again, use these individual stats. I do. Check it out. You go back and look at past years, how a guy matches up against the opponents. That's all at your fingertips for all 133 teams. But let's look at North Texas last week. North Texas actually trailed Memphis 31-10. Now, I could go back and show you. It was 31-7 prior to that. They trailed 38-21 in the fourth quarter and ended up pulling back all the way to 45-42. So you've got 2 teams off somewhat misleading finals. Schedule strength, I could go and show it to you, but UTSA is number 79. North Texas is number 125. We're going to mark it down. Take UTSA. Now, I saw some 7s pop up today, so there is a possibility that game could go to 7. We got 7.5 on it. Take UTSA minus the 7 or 7.5 over North Texas. That's for you, Steven. It's your under the radar play of the week. All right, before I get to the situational play of the week, I posted this on Pressbox or on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. And, this year, my Inside the Pressbox newsletter, I have a weekly battle with my computer. If you guys have heard me on the radio, if you have read my newsletter, you know I battle with the computer at times. A lot of times I agree with the computer, but there are battles. And the computer, whenever it wins, it likes to gloat and told me I had to put this out. So I put this one out this week. We both generate best bets each week. Now, I've beaten my computer 7 of the 9 weeks. You would expect that. I take everything into analysis. But this past week, my computer went 4-0, and my best bets were just 3-2. So my computer beat me last week. He made me post it. Here it is. The computer beat me last week. It was a nice 7-2 week for the press box, but I did not beat my computer. I'm going to get him this week, though, guys. Don't worry about that. I will beat the computer this week. We're going to have a big winning week. I am determined to. And by the way, if you want to ever get a single issue of Inside the Press Box, just go to the homepage right here. And when you go to the homepage, you can hit the store, which is right here. And when you go to the store, it's very simple. It's just $20, by the way. $20 gets you 61 college football write-ups. You get all of my write-ups. You get my computer's forecast on every game. This week, you get 5 computer best bets from my computer. You get 4 best bets from me. That's 9 best bets overall. It's just $20 a week. It's having a great year. My press box best bets are on an 11-3 run there. Just $20. Go ahead and purchase it right now if you like. But let's go back here now and get your 5th big play locked in. And we got to go back to the team page for this. Let's find it. Get it back there a sec. Here we go. Team pages. And we're going to click on FBS. And here we go. Your 5th selection of the week. We're going to put Georgia Tech on the left. And we are going to put Virginia on the right. Now, this is a situational play this week. The situational plays, as mentioned, went 4-1 last week and are now 37-27 on the season. So having a really good year. Now, to make it as a best bet situational play, Chris and I went through the games this year, and we marked down all the teams rating things from 1 to 5 for teams, how they value this particular game. And if the difference is 1.5 or 2, it qualifies as a best bet. This one qualifies as a best bet. I believe it's a 2 play on Virginia. The situational plays went 4-1 last week, 37-27 on the season. Georgia Tech is off a big win over North Carolina. Now, the last time the ACC network was there for a game and they won a big game was this Miami of Florida game. They beat them 23-20. The next week, we used the top play here. The last 4 weeks AGG game was Boston College. Boston College had a 563, 452-yard edge and drummed them 38-28. So the situational play clearly stands out that we like Virginia in this one. But there's more. It's never just one thing to make it as a selection here. There's more. So let's go back and take a look at this. When you take a look at, I clicked off Georgia Tech. Let me get them back. If you take a look at the last 4 weeks, AGG, Virginia is playing at 105.5 level. And this AGG, in case you're unfamiliar with it, takes into account not just the score of the game, but takes into account the yards rushing, yards passing, rush offense and defense, and the opponent. So you could have the exact same stats against two teams. Like here, you look at William and Mary. They outgained William and Mary by 234 yards. Against North Carolina, they were outgained by 54 yards. But the computer said they played at North Carolina at a 110.6 versus a 95 because it takes into account the strength of opponent for the game. So the last 4 weeks is 105.5 versus 95. That means Virginia by 13 for the last 4 weeks, and they're only a 2-point favorite. Georgia Tech off a straight-up win. Guess what? You can look that up right here. Off a straight-up win right here. 2-3, 3-5, 4-7, 4-10 the last 4 years. Now let's look at this year. They beat Louisville. I don't know if they covered against South Carolina State. Let me look that up real quick. South Carolina State, Georgia Tech. They did not. They lost against the spread here. They beat Mississippi. They did cover against Wake Forest on the road. No, off a straight-up win. Okay, so they beat South Carolina State. They lost to Mississippi. They beat Wake Forest. They lost to Bowling Green. They beat Miami of Florida. They lost to BC. So off a straight-up win, they are just 4-13 the last 17 games. You take a look at the home team in this series. Let's go take a look at that. Virginia against Georgia Tech. The home team, look at all these wins. I'll add it up for you. 20-5 straight up. 18-7-1 against the spread. And it figures because when you look at Georgia Tech and you look at their record on the road, since 2015, if we subtract a 7-4 here, that is 28 and Georgia Tech is 13-30 straight up on the road. If we subtract that off here, 13 wins, 30 losses. And Virginia at home is a much different team. Virginia is 24-11 straight up at home. So you've got a strong home team in the series, last 4 weeks, and a situational play. Your fifth selection this week, Virginia, -1.5 over Georgia Tech. Now, I mentioned the quick hitters. We had 4 on the main tour. Then I hope you checked out the FCS tour, which we had to add separate. I do have FCS plays for you here. We got the lines on Tuesday this week, which was really important. So I've got 5 quick hitters for you. They're 10-4 the last 3 weeks. Let's start off with the first one, and it's Wisconsin against Indiana. Now, this is a warm and fuzzy game for me, I'm going to say, is on Wisconsin. I believe Wisconsin's on the road, so I better put them on the left, Indiana on the right. Years ago, I used to run a sports service, and I used Wisconsin over Indiana as a play many times. I had something that we called 5 stars. I don't do that 5 stars anymore. I just do the newsletter. But the 5 stars had a tremendous record. A lot of warm and fuzzy games here. -14.5, 59-0 was one. This one here, -11.5, they won 52-17. This one they were -22, they won 83-20. -40, they won 59-7. You can see all the big wins they've had in the series. Wisconsin is 9-1 straight up, 8-2 against the spread. So I've used this Wisconsin over Indiana many times. Now, I am a little concerned that Braylon Allen got banged up last week, as did Chimere Dikey, but that's why the line's so low. The line's down here at 9.5. You've got a Wisconsin team that dominates the series. How does Indiana do as a home dog? Home dog 2-6, 4-6, 4-8. They are 3-7 against the spread as a home dog. Wisconsin, how about this? Off a straight-up loss. Let's go take a look at that. Off a straight-up loss, 7-3. And what'd they do this year? They lost here, they covered. That's 8-3. They lost here, they covered. That's 9-3 off a straight up loss. So add it all up. I like Wisconsin minus 9.5 over Indiana. Yeah, it's been a long time since I was in the sports service industry. I stopped that before I became a full-time ESPN employee years back. But Wisconsin minus 9.5 over Indiana. Let's take a look at the next one. It is UTEP against Western Kentucky. And we're going to put UTEP on the right because they're at home. We're going to take Western Kentucky and put them on the left because they are on the road. So for this one, we put the fact that UTEP in Conference USA play is plus 27 yards per game. Western Kentucky, which has a much better record, minus 13 yards per game. So we're playing better statistically in conference play. This is an AGG best bet. Why? Because UTEP is playing at an 87.2 grade for the season. They're playing at a 90.6. In this game, UTEP's getting 8.5, but the AGG basically says it's an even game. That makes it an AGG best bet, which went 4-0 last week. UTEP's still live for a bowl game. They've got 6 losses. Now, if they beat Western Kentucky, they could beat Middle Tennessee and get Liberty at home. If they do that, they could still get to a bowl game. I like the way they run the football. Hankins and Burgess really running the ball well lately. Last 4 weeks, 177 yards per game. And look at Western Kentucky's rush defense, allowing 211 yards per game in conference play, 4.0, 5.0 on the year. So they should be able to run the football on Western Kentucky. They're at home. The AGG is there. Quick hitter, UTEP, plus 8.5 over Western Kentucky. All right, West Virginia. I do a weekly show with West Virginia. Check that out. I tweet it out. Make sure you listen to it. The guys are great there. Love doing the show with both Owen and Jed each week. And but this game strikes me. West Virginia is minus 10 at home against BYU. Now, as you know, I pointed out inside the press box last week, and I used Texas as a best bet last week over BYU. BYU is the fakest 5-2 team in the country heading into last week. They were like minus over 100 yards per game, yet somehow we're 5-2. Well, it caught up to them last week. They were only minus 62 yards per game, but they lost by 29. On the season, last 4 weeks, they're minus 180. On the season, they're minus 91. This is not a 5-3 team. West Virginia, meanwhile, is a strong team. Nice win last week at UCF. Now they get this one at home. I like the way West Virginia runs the football. When I talked to Coach Brown in the spring, he told me he loved the offensive line and the run game. C.J. Donaldson finally returning to form. They've got the freshman, Jaheim White. They're a potent combo, great offensive line. BYU is giving up 5 yards per carry in conference play. They will be able to run the ball. And I also like the matchup of West Virginia's defense. Now, if you go back over to the menu, you can take a look at the pass efficiency defense, which we update each and every week. Let's get there. Here we go. And just come down here. All this stuff is available every week. I can show it to you all now, but just make sure you use it because it's really important. Pass efficiency defense, West Virginia is ranking up there they're in the 30s, I know. Where's West Virginia? Pass efficiency defense. West Virginia. Let me find them. There they are, number 38 in pass efficiency defense this year. And if you look at BYU and go to the team pages and BYU cannot run the football. See all this red? They have to pass. These guys have a good pass defense. So we will be able to run. They can't pass on us. The AGG screams out West Virginia as well. You take a look at the last 4 weeks, AG 106.9 versus 92. That's West Virginia by 18.6, and they're a 10-point favorite. Your third quick hitter is West Virginia. Now we're going to take a look at New Mexico against UNLV. And this is another one of those situational plays this week. 4-0 last week for those on the Phil Steele Plus. And we put New Mexico there, and we're going to put UNLV over here. Now, UNLV is off a big game. They went into Fresno expecting with a great chance to actually win or get to the Mountain West title game. But if you go to the menu, this is interesting, and it might help you with some things. We update these projected conference standings each week. Now, the underline means the game's been played. Green means that you've won the game. The dash means these games are left to be played. Well, if we go down here to Mountain West Conference, You look at UNLV, that was a big loss. They could have been 4-0 right now. They are trailing Air Force Boise, and they're also trailing Fresno. Now, the computer's saying Fresno loses to Boise and loses to San Jose, but if they don't, they're still ahead of UNLV, and if they do, then Boise's ahead and Air Force is ahead, and UNLV's likely not in the Mountain West title game. So it's a little bit of a letdown spot for them. It is a second straight road game for UNLV. They had a great chance in that game. You go back and take a look at the UNLV game, as I pointed out. At the half, they had a 237, 108-yard edge. Let it slip away. They're in a little bit of a depressed mood, traveling again to the altitude in New Mexico. And New Mexico, meanwhile, right here, after this loss in Mexico State, Coach Gonzalez said, we're going to get to a bowl game. Now, they still have chances. They are 3-5. They just have to win 3 games down the stretch. This is a huge one if they pick this one up. They'd have a possibility of actually getting to a bowl game. You look at their offense this year. Last year, they had no offense. 229 yards per game, 13 points per game. This year, they brought in UAB's offensive coordinator, and they brought in UAB's quarterback, and they are averaging 29 points per game, 397 yards per game, a much better offense. You take a look at the AGG for this. UNLV's only playing at a 95.5 level. You had 3 here. That's New Mexico playing at a 91 level. That says UNLV by 3.7. And as a double-digit favorite, once again, use these last straight up in ATS. We go back and take a look at them as a double-digit conference favorite right here. 0-3 last year. They are 1-4 in that over the years. They did pick up one against Hawaii, but that was at home, not on the road. So they're a double-digit road favorite, a rare roll for them. We're going to take New Mexico plus 10. All right, let's go to the FCS. And I do want to remind you, with the FCS, let's click on the menu to go there. And over here, I'm just going to click on an FCS team page. Chris has been doing great with these plays. Nice 3-0 game, 3-0 last week. I'm going to put Delaware here. But for the FCS, look at this. You could get the average game grade rank. Who's number 1? Oops, wrong one. Let's go to the FCS. Sorry about that. Click back. FCS information. Average game grade ranks for the FCS. This is where everybody ranks as of 11-1. We're going to click back over here. See what else we got going for us. FCS information, pass efficiency, defense, power poll, power ratings, FCS standings, and, of course, the team pages. Well, we're going to line up Delaware on the right. They're hosting Elon. And we're going to line up Elon on the left. Now, for this game, Delaware's on a roll. They are 7-1. They only lost Penn State. Okay, I'll give them that. They lost to Penn State. But 7-1. Look what they've done the last 4 weeks. Plus 240 yards per game. Plus 31 points per game. Playing to an 89.7 level. Elon, meanwhile, had opened up pretty good. They opened up 3-2. They did have a loss to Wake Forest, which isn't bad, and at Gardner-Webb. But lately, they're 2-2. They're actually minus 129 yards per game the last 4 weeks, and they are playing to a 67.4 level. So if you look at the AGG over the last 4 weeks, that's Delaware by 25.3. Now, one thing I do want to point out, these lines are soft that we're looking at. They are located from, let me find the place we're getting them from, 5 Dimes. 5 Dimes posts these numbers. They could change 4 to 6 points. Chris likes them, even if they change 4 to 6 points. So Delaware is minus 12.5. The last 4 weeks AGG says by 25.3. Delaware, if they win out, has a chance of getting a bye in the FCS playoffs, and they are the number 6 team in the country right now. Take Delaware minus 12.5 over Elon. Now we're going to take a look at Northern Iowa against Western Illinois. It wouldn't be an FCS forecast without picking on Western Illinois, would it? Yeah, we're doing it right now. We're going to put Northern Iowa on the right, Western Illinois on the left. And one thing I do want to point out, once again, when you go here to the, not the team pages, let's go back. Go back to the Phil Steele Plus page, is that we actually have logs on all the FCS games. And if you bought the FCS magazine, you could fill that in there. But here we have logs on every game. I have actually charted the logs on every single FCS game for the last 6 years. You know that from the FCS magazine. You could also get that here. You get the last 6 years logs all at your fingertips. Just click there. You get individual player stats right here on every FCS game. They're updated, but the logs are important. And when we look at the logs, look at Western Illinois, the team we love to pick on. They are 0-8 straight up, but more importantly, you guys know that, 0-8 against the spread. And last week, Chris had Southern Illinois minus 28.5. 63-0. Wasn't even a game. Right now, the line is Northern Iowa minus 31. Doesn't that appear a little cheap to you guys? It does to me, and it did to Chris, which is the most important part here. Now, if you look at Northern Iowa, they are number 9 in the FCS right now. Western Illinois is not. Western Illinois is number 121 in the FCS. So, number 110 in the FCS. You have a massive difference there. You have a really good team taking on the team we love to pick on. I don't have to go further here, do I? Do I have to show you their poor rush offense, their poor rush defense, the fact they're allowing 6.7 yards per carry, 71% completions, only running the ball for 1.7 yards per carry, giving up 13.9% sacks, and can't get to the quarterback? A lot to love there about Western Illinois. Let's take Northern Iowa minus 31 against Western Illinois. Now, we've had some requests for that Ivy League game of the week, and Chris has delivered, so let's hope he delivers again. We're going to put Brown on the right, and we're going to put Yale on the left. Now, this one's a little scary if you follow Ivy football, because last year, Yale trounced Brown, 69-17. Yale went, look at all this green. They only had 2 losses last year. Brown last year was not a good team. But the one thing I've seen in Ivy League play, at least the last 4 or 5 years, is we've seen some drastic differences from year to year. And I don't think the lines makers caught up to the differences in these two teams. Brown's a lot better. They're 4-3 on the year. Yale, meanwhile, is just 4-3. Bigger things were expected. They've lost games as favorites already this year. And prior to last week against Columbia, Columbia's 0-4, straight up, and I believe against the spread as well in Ivy play. If we take out this plus 265, then Yale is actually on the year in Ivy League play minus 123 yards per game. They were minus 207. They were minus 93. They were minus 70. So they've been outgained in every game. Brown, meanwhile, is minus 14 in Ivy League play, but at least they've outgained some teams. And they pulled 2 upsets already. They upset mighty Penn. Remember, this is a team that Yale lost to by 10. They beat them by 4, and they upset Princeton, another really good team. So 2 big upset wins. They're plus 7.5 at home. This is one where the lines makers haven't quite caught up to their current form. And Chris also wanted to point out, look at Jake Wilcox. He's hitting 63% with a 15-7 ratio. Wes Rocket is leading the Ivy with 630 yards receiving. Wilcox was their quarterback last year. He has improved. You want to see how they do on a daily basis or a weekly basis? It's all right there. So add it all up. Chris's Ivy League game of the week is Brown plus 7.5 over Yale. Well, there you go. Hopefully it's another successful week. It's the first week in November. Can you believe? Only 4 weeks of regular season action left for college football. I appreciate you taking the Phil Steele Plus tour each and every week with me. Have yourself a lot of winners this weekend, and good luck to you.